Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this video. The fact that you are willing to sacrifice a few minutes out of your day to consume my content really does mean the world to me. I would just like to ask, if you do enjoy this video, please make sure to subscribe so you can watch future videos just like this one. So as we know, Star Wars Visions is an anthology series set in the Star Wars universe, and there's a lot of positives as well as a lot of negatives in regards to this show. Obviously, one of the massive highlights is the ability for storytellers and animators to put their unique spin on Star Wars. They're not restricted to the established animation style of the Star Wars series or the main Skywalker storyline from the movies. However, that also offers up the opportunity for varying degrees of quality, and that is so apparent in this season. For example, the season starts really strong with probably one of its best episodes. Episode 1 across the board is just such a highlight, from its story, from its unique aesthetic, to the animation itself. Monochromatic black and white footage everywhere except for color that comes from different lighting objects such as lightsabers, lights, or even just on-screen heads-up displays. They obviously take the traditional Jedi and Sith archetypes and really just flip them on their heads, but it's all matched with just fantastic animation, engaging characters, and beautiful choreography. This episode represents everything that an anthology series could do done right. And there is one specific line where a specific character, I'm not going to give any spoilers, just utters the line, "I am a Jedi." And I had more of a reaction to that one line than I have to most of Star Wars coming from Disney since The Force Awakens. And that just shows you how mismanaged Star Wars has been by Disney, unfortunately, since it took over. And this episode is also victim to one of the biggest, most infuriating things that seems to haunt Star Wars nowadays, which is people just shrug off lightsaber blows like they're nothing anymore. Everyone can get stabbed in the torso and survive. Qui-Gon Jinn is rolling in his grave, holy smokes. And so while there are things I didn't like about episode 1 was definitely a highlight. It was, as I said, it is just great across the board, from animation and story to characters. But then we get episode 2, which is a definite step back. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the varying degrees of quality with an anthology series. Because even though there is nothing inherently wrong with this episode, it just doesn't even touch the first episode in anything. Like, the quality overall just feels like a step back. And obviously, I know that this is a completely different team that worked on it. I'm not trying to be rude or negative to them. They obviously worked very hard, but you just can't compare it to the first episode. And obviously, you don't watch anthology series because you're looking for things to stick to canon. But the way the AT-ATs are treated in this episode is terrible. In what universe can a single thermal detonator take one down? The snowspeeders on Hoth would have easily wiped out the AT-ATs if that was the case. And holy smokes, I've never seen a seismic charge treated like such a joke. Are you telling me that one thermal detonator can take down an AT-AT, but multiple, I think like in this case, almost 50 seismic charges can't take down one speeder? There is something wrong. Your power scaling is just not where it's supposed to be. And that's just the issue. Is like, people who genuinely love Star Wars might then have an issue with elements of that. But obviously, Star Wars in and of itself is one of the most fractured fan bases out there on the internet right now. So there will be a space for people who really do enjoy this series. And then we get to episode 3, which, in my honest opinion, also does one of the biggest mistakes anthology series sometimes do, which is introduce a concept, but then not follow through with it. What I mean by that is, in the very beginning of this episode starts with gorgeous animation. There's a battle sequence taking place in space, and it's directed and animated so well. And then a character ends up in space, just floating in space, but they're still alive. And you're like, holy smokes, that's terrifying. That's a scary idea for a one-off episode. Just a character floating through space, how they're going to deal with it, how they're going to deal with that isolation, how do they deal with the fact that they know they're going to die, that impending doom, that existential crisis, and then the solution is solved in literally 10 seconds. You have this unique concept, which is genuinely terrifying, and then you resolve it incredibly quickly, and it just does become another generic Star Wars, I want to become a Jedi plot. And that was disappointing. And this episode specifically brought up a trend I noticed not just in Visions, but in Star Wars as a whole, with the over-reliance of trying to make droids the most memorable characters. Obviously, droids have been a part of Star Wars forever. R2-D2 and C-3PO are some of the most recognized characters in media, not just Star Wars. But there's such an over-reliance on making droids the emotional heart of Star Wars in this season. I'm just like, where are the human characters I can enjoy? I found myself being more invested in the stories of droids than in the stories of humans and aliens. Why am I caring more about robots than I am about people? And so even just within the first 3 episodes itself, you can see the varying degrees of quality. You have something that's amazing, you have something that underdelivers, and then you have something with a premise that's fantastic, but it just never goes anywhere with it. And that's ultimately my biggest issue with Star Wars Visions Season 3 as a whole. There's no consistency, which is obviously one of the symptoms of a series like this, but it does make it very difficult to really just sit back, relax, and enjoy a show when obviously you're kind of just watching a bunch of little stories threaded together just under the umbrella of Star Wars. And some of these shows have such a unique spin on their animation and their characters that it doesn't even feel like it belongs under the Star Wars umbrella. Yes, some episodes, including episode 1, the aesthetic is completely different, but you can tell there is that ingrained love of Star Wars present, which some other episodes is just missing. So yes guys, overall I would say Star Wars Visions Season 3 is definitely something worth checking out if you do enjoy unique storytelling. If you are a fan of the Star Wars universe, then maybe you should dip your toes into it as well, although it might not be what you are expecting. But guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like and do not be afraid to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really would appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day.